Hi, this is Aaron Wilson, and we're talking Texans minicamp, specifically Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud, the former NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. And let's go through what was said, what we saw, and some of the things that really were reinforced to me about this much ado about nothing tight shoulder muscle, connective tissues in the shoulder that were exacerbated by his weightlifting regimen, which he's taken very seriously. And you can kind of tell how much CJ's been in the weight room, along with his throwing regimen, his whole routine. And so that's why they were precautionary with him. And as I reported before, there was no surgery, something that CJ reiterated after practice, no procedures on anything. And all of this, I know a lot of people thought, and they had these conspiracy theories, and I understand because the team does not give out a lot of injury information. There's something of a vacuum, and when there is a vacuum, people will make some assumptions. They'll speculate. It's okay. That's what, modern, media, especially social media, can be about. But I like to deal in facts. I like to stay steeped in reality, and I like to go with what I trust from reliable people. And so I was told authoritatively by multiple sources, no surgery, not a serious injury, and that he had shoulder muscle tightness connected to the throwing shoulder, top of the pectoral, and all of that was affected. And he could have been throwing as soon as last week. They decided to have him throw in a practice session this week. And he was even throwing at points where we're not able to watch when it was closed to media. So he was throwing privately. Here's the thing. People that were talking about surgery and why is he hurt still since the season? He wasn't. He got sore during these throwing sessions. There's videos of him throwing during the independent sessions the players have when they started the off-season conditioning program. So that wasn't a practice session, but they were out there. There's video from the team going back to that. So, yeah, I'm just not sure why people thought that he'd had this major injury that they were hiding throughout the entire offseason. They wouldn't have been able to. It would have gotten out there. So let's go to what we saw on the field, and then we'll discuss some things that were said after practice a little bit more. So first throw of the day, zips, rifles a pass to tight end Cade Stover on a corner route. Very precise, tight throw. Showed velocity, showed control. Afterward, CJ said he had some rust. Didn't look rusty on that throw to me. And then a beautiful lob, a rainbow spiral to rookie wide receiver T. Higgins, towering 6'4", speedster from Iowa State. Gets a step behind Kamari Lassiter. Football is right where it needs to be, makes a one-handed catch. Higgins was a real highlight during this practice, but we'll get to that. We're going to stick with C.J. Stroud. So C.J., the whole thing with him is that he's a very valuable commodity. He's someone they're going to sign to a big contract next year. Why, logic sense-wise, would you do anything other than take precautions with him? So, I understand for DeMeco Ryans, especially he's not required to give out a lot of injury information. We've been trying to emphasize that on the channel to let people know, well, why don't they answer the question? Why don't they clear it up? I would look at it a couple ways. There's no competitive advantage. There's also no competitive disadvantage, too, in my opinion. But it is their right, under the rules, to not do an injury update right now. So they're exercising their right. The other thing is that in terms of, injury and reporting, they're not going to give you all the answers to the test. You have to find out. You have to figure it out. So that is, in my opinion, a big part of my job is getting to what is the truth about an injury, not just, going off of, well, they said everybody's on a different schedule. Well, that's not enough. You want to know. But they're not required to tell you. And if that frustrates fans or frustrates some of the press, they're not worried about that. It's not like, them being rude or flippant or anything like that. Do I think that they could have, extinguished this and made it less of a big deal? Of course. But that is their right. That's their choice. So, none of this offends me. I mean, I've been covering the NFL a long time, so it's a business. And their business isn't necessarily assuring the fans every step of the way, hey, this is what's happening. It's all about winning football games and getting to the season as healthy and productive as possible. So that's the priority. As far as what else I saw in the practice, I saw him look comfortable. You could see that he was having fun to be out there. And also there was a change in tempo by having C.J. out there because he's talking trash, he's challenging the defense. It changes the equation. You see the difference between a C.J. Stroud offense and, say, Davis Mills or Keaton Slovis. So it's a big difference because this is a Pro Bowl quarterback. And finally get to see him and Nick Caley, collaborate on some plays. And that relationship's off to a good start. CJ had a lot of interesting things to say, including the amount of attention they're paying to Tom Brady tape, going all the way back to the early 2000s with stuff that Josh McDaniels was doing with Brady and Bill Belichick with the New England Patriots. So interesting stuff. And yeah, I would say everything with CJ is fine. So just kind of go over a little bit some of the comments. He was already throwing. He joked that y'all don't have a lot to talk about. Everything gets blown up in the offseason. He's fine. He's really okay. And with everything, with this whole thing, he compared it to like a relief pitcher, a pitcher in baseball. Sometimes you're taking some time off, but he emphasized that he was fine. It wasn't as bad as people were making it seem. Not a big deal. Didn't think too much about it. Was very grateful to be back on the field. And, D'Amico brought up that corner route that he threw. He saw the energy, saw the competitiveness, all good things to see. And I think that everything with CJ is going in a good direction. I mentioned before, he was trying to lose body fat. He was trying to get bigger, faster, and stronger. He's set personal records in every category in the weight room through his work with the strength and conditioning staff. So kudos to them for the work they've done preparing CJ for the season. Sometimes when you work out that hard, you do get sore. Much lower scale, but I still go to the gym. I like to lift weights, and sometimes I'm sore. And that lets me know that I've done some work, that I've done enough to possibly make some gains or to at least hold serve in whatever level of conditioning I have. It takes a lot of work to look this bad is my joke. For CJ, he looks leaner to me. He is, I think, lighter, at least in terms of probably overall body mass and just body fat percentage. So those are all good things. And if it allows him to be more mobile, to escape the pocket, to ad-lib and improvise, then good. That's what you want to see from your quarterback. So let's go over some of the practice notes because I think we probably touched enough on CJ for today. So here was the offensive line. Again, Cam Robinson, left tackle. Laken Tomlinson, left guard. First center, Jake Andrews. Right guard, Titus Howard. Blake Fisher, right tackle. Ariante Ursery, the rookie from Minnesota, subbed for Robinson. Had some issues with Derek Barnett. Had some moments too. D'Amico Ryans praised him for improving at pad leverage, footwork, everything getting better. His routine off the field. And he thinks that blocking Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. is going to do nothing but make him better. I agree with that. As they say, iron sharpens iron. You'll hear that a lot. And it is the cliche de rigueur and really the words of the moment that are used around the NFL. But they are truisms. It might be a cliche, but cliches are also truisms and do resonate because that's how you get better. You get better against good competition. In any walk of life, whatever you do, you need to face good competition. We all face good competition, whatever our different respective fields of work or study are. There are lots of outstanding competitors out there. So you never want to take someone lightly. And I think for Ursery, he's getting better. The main backups were Ursery, also at left tackle. You had Jalen Thomas at guard, Ed Ingram at guard, Jarrett Patterson at center. Juice Scruggs played some center. So you had some of those guys working in. Still no Trent Brown. But let's talk about Jayden Higgins. We talked about him at the top of the show. Jayden Higgins, beating single coverage, and the growth, the excitement that's surrounding this second-round draft pick is really exciting. A lot of people are talking about Jayden Higgins. He was really, to me, stole the show. I know all eyes were on C.J. Stroud, but Higgins, big time practice by him. And, people are getting excited, seeing how many plays he's making. And C.J., not just C.J. Stroud, but D'Amico Ryans said this guy could be an impact player for us. Those are his words. Very rarely do you see an NFL head coach talk about an impact rookie. So that is impressive. Nico Collins took the football away from Tremont Smith. That was a big play. Justin Watson, former Chiefs wide receiver, caught a touchdown. Christian Kirk, uncharacteristic drop. Very rarely see him drop a pass. That was a bad drop. That happens. They are happy with Cade Stover, the tight end, second year, had an emergency appendectomy, came back from that, then hurts his shoulder. Healthy now, and he looks good. They're seeing the separation, route definition at the top of the route, and seeing him making play after play. They are excited about him. And, Dalton Schultz didn't have a great season, so maybe Stover gets more playing time. And whenever they get Brevin Jordan back from the torn ACL. You guys always like to know this stuff. Who didn't practice? Rookie wide receiver Jalen Noel has a soft tissue, mild thing. That's why he's not practicing. He did run on the side. Along with Brevin Jordan, who tore his ACL in September against the Chicago Bears. Braxton Berrios, who suffered an ACL last year, and so is still recovering from that, but is making good progress. Henry To'oTo'o, the linebacker, sidelined. Christian Harris, back for training camp, still out with a calf strain. It is a milder example of the calf injury from last season that he injured twice. Also, they are being slow with defensive end Danico Autry, just having him work out and condition on the side. He's 35 years old. Conditioning is the big thing for him, not a lot of practice snaps. And, of course, offensive tackle Trent Brown, another guy that had knee surgery. He's not practicing. Of course, Joe Mixon, not practicing, out of the walking boot, wearing an ankle brace. And, Dameon Pierce, I'm told, nothing serious with him. I think both will be back for camp. So those are good things. And two of the veterans that weren't here for the voluntary sessions, the organized team activities, they were here for these sessions. And C.J. Gardner-Johnson was running around, you guys have probably seen the video I did with him. And you can see how excited he is to be a Texan and how dynamic he can be. The guy is very athletic and very aggressive. And when the pads come on, watch out, because he's a guy that is a hitter and punishes people with his tackle. He's got great shoulder pop, a little bit like Jalen Petrie, but bigger. So Sheldon Rankins was there, Danielle Hunter was there, and as D'Amico said, CJ, he's been trained on his own. He has to pick up some things, but he says that he's a piece of it, and he called him a foundational piece as a part of this defense. So he talked about the collective effort, building the puzzle, putting it together, and he thinks this puzzle, these are D'Amico's words and eloquent ones, I give him credit, a beautiful finished product. One piece of it worked together the right way, they can have a really good secondary. I agree. Could be the best secondary in the NFL. You're talking about Derek Stingley. You're talking about Kalen Bullock, who we spoke to, and he's very excited about some changes he's making to his game, working on his tackling, working on being more physical, and setting up his plays even better. He was a great player as a rookie, and he can play even better. And that close relationship, that friendship between him and Kamari Lassiter, that bond they have off the field, and really similar outlooks in life and in football, and even taste in music. Both guys are big NBA YoungBoy fans. They listen to that on their phones as they head into practice. And, yeah, that's great, if you like the same music and your buddies and you like to talk football, like to play video games, all that stuff. But, yeah, these are young guys, and they get along well. They have a good locker room, and that's the kind of thing that I have an antenna for over the years. When the locker room's not quite right or there's some problems or guys are maybe whispering that they had an issue with coach or they're talking about their stats or they're talking about their money. That's not what I'm seeing. And we'll be in the locker room more in the fall, obviously. Right now, it's shorter interviews and that kind of thing, podium stuff. But everything I'm hearing about the locker room and the vibe is good. I haven't talked to you guys too much, but I wanted to weigh in on Frank Ross. Great event. Coach's Cuts. Raised a lot of money for Covenant House, Houston. And this helps a lot of people. This is a homeless shelter for young people in Montrose. So go to Coach Ross's website and consider donating if you have the means and the feeling that you should. Then I encourage you to do so. Yeah, I did. I feel great about helping out, making some sort of small gesture to try to help these folks that are down on their luck. So, yeah, great job, Frank Ross, the special teams coordinator of the Texans. And I think this is an outstanding thing, and it's annual. And I really enjoy watching this. He gives out the haircuts. There's a lot of other service they offer, but they try to just offer some encouragement. And a lot of this, he said, comes from his mom. She taught in the inner city schools for 30 years, and that really rubbed off and resonated with Frank and touched him his heart. I thought he was going to cry a couple times. He was very emotional, tears of joy, just an emotional moment to be there. And I got a chance to meet really almost every rookie. Some I've just talked to on Zoom or at the press conferences, but I got a chance to shake hands, meet Graham Mertz, meet Keontae Hamilton, Jayden Higgins, Jalen Noel, Woody Marks, and great guys. It was good to talk to them. Today, Randy McElvoy and I talked to Mario Edwards Jr. for an upcoming story. And Mario is someone that feels like he signed a 2-year, $9.5 million deal, thinks that if he had been in this defense his entire career, how much more stats he would have put up, how much more pass rush production. Good inside pass rusher. And we got a chance to talk a little bit about some of his things he likes to do off the field. He's like a lot of these guys, he likes to fish. He likes to try restaurants. He's a big fan of the Pit Room. That's one of the ones that he enjoys a lot. So, yeah, he likes a little bit of barbecue. And coming from Mississippi, he knows his barbecue. And he's got a lot of property here in Texas, a lot of roots. His dad's a former NFL player, Mario Edwards Sr. And, yeah, we're seeing Mario Edwards Jr., a lot of good things from him, a former second-round pick that's bounced around the NFL. But I think with a full season, he could be a 5-6 sack kind of guy. Maybe they'll want to extend him even again. He is under contract for next year. So some good things happening with Mario Edwards. Interesting to have that conversation. Like to sometimes drop a little news here on the channel. And so I want to put this out. You guys probably saw me report about Damon Arnett from the Houston Roughnecks, his tryout. And they also tried out a long snapper Cameron Lyons from the San Antonio Brahmas. That's another UFL team. Well, now a cornerback workout again. And there are a couple other names, but this one I'm going to report now. And that's veteran corner Duke Shelley is going to try out for the Texans on Wednesday, very early in the morning. So this is a former Chicago Bears 6th-round draft pick, Kansas State, 28 years old, 5'9", 176 pounds, 93 career tackles, 1 interception, 14 passes defensed, 53 games, 11 career starts. Played for the Giants last season, only played in 1 game, and was previously Vikings, Rams, Raiders, of course the Bears. In college, 8 interceptions, 165 tackles. So honorable mention all Big 12, and he's going to try out. Obviously, a lot of this is because of the need they have at corner with what's happened, with the retirement of Ronald Darby. I kind of wanted to save these observations for the end because we have had separate videos on Nick Chubb and the impact I believe he can make. But let me give you a few quick observations. We're going to talk with Nick after practice. He is scheduled to meet with the media on Wednesday after the final minicamp practice. But, yeah, I saw a burst. I saw some explosiveness on a couple plays. I can tell he's in good shape. He's a bigger back. He's a downhill guy. I would say he's, still working his way back from the foot, but no noticeable discomfort. Was able to plant, cut, look good to me. And excuse me, say that, Nick Chubb has a good chance to help this team. They're impressed with him, and, if you look at everything with him, he's a quiet guy. I would not expect anything real big from him in the media. He tends to just let his pads do his talking for him. And so some of the comments from D'Amico, that a tremendous worker, a humble kid, does not say much, a grinder, a worker, been through a lot, obviously, with the injuries, resilient, and he wanted to make a big point to thank Nick Caserio for doing this, for getting this deal done, which is 1 year, $2.5 million base value, $5 million max value. So a good deal to get him in there. And he can block. He called him a dynamic player, a game changer, and talked about the caliber of player. They're easing him in, and they're getting ready for training camp. So Nick Chubb, first practice as a Texan, wearing number 21, C.J. Gardner-Johnson wearing number 23, told me that that's a lot of great players like Michael Jordan wear numbers like that. So he's moved on from this number 8 thing, and he's all in with number 23. And, of course, we saw Kalen Bullock wearing number 2, so a few jersey changes going around with the Texans, and it's just a real talented team. So it kind of sinks in when you're watching when you have pretty much most of the players out there, with the exception of a few. But, you had the majority of the roster. So you can kind of think about, okay, well, how are these guys going to line up? But heading into the final day of the minicamp, and we're going to have lots of time to talk about some things about Nick Chubb tomorrow and other observations as they wrap up the spring portion of football. We head into the summer months and some downtime before training camp. But, yeah, a good day for the Texans. And, again, C.J. Stroud, no surgery, no problems with his shoulder, no big deal. And, yeah, just sometimes I think these things can take on a life of their own. I understand that because there are viral moments on social media. Things happen, and that's okay. But, doesn't mean that it's not necessarily a different story. So, just anything, you want to be open-minded, and that's what I encourage everybody to just kind of stick with what's fact-based, what's logical, and what are people in a real position to know. As D'Amico said, nobody knows more about the health of their players than they do, and I agree with that. That's the case. In this case, yeah, a little bit of information and try to report it out, find out what I could, because I knew there's a very good chance someone else would eventually kind of put it together. So that's what it was with C.J. Stroud. And, yeah, really much to do about nothing. But I understand it's been a talker, not just for others, but, for me, because, this is something that I know you guys are interested in. So just try to give you guys the best possible information. Thank you for liking, watching, subscribing. We gained a lot of new subscribers in the past day as we passed the 8,000 mark, and now we're at 8,400. The next goal is 9,000. I'd love to be there as soon as I can, and I want to get to 10,000 way before training camp. I'm not setting any goals as far as this is the limit, that's the most I want. I want as many people as possible. This helps me. It does help, as much as I enjoy it too, it does help me bolster what I'm doing for my family and for, sometimes for travel and things like that, and anything that goes into all the resources to cover the NFL 365 days a year. So guys, thank you. Please tell your friends to sign up and to watch. And that is really the big thing I ask of you. And just appreciate you guys being along and supporting the channel. I'm still learning some things technically and doing my best to get better and better at creating the content. And in addition to what I do at KPRC2 on television with Randy McElroy, and at www.click2houston.com. I'm on Twitter and X at AaronWilson_NFL. Instagram, AaronWilson7128. Guys, thank you very much. Talk to you soon.